Esashi in the southern Hokkaido region is where the upheaval at the end of the Edo period, which was brought about by the arrival of Admiral Prairie's black ships, came to an end. The Kaiyo Maru, which sank off the coast of Esashi, even now conveys the romance of the closing days of the Tokugawa Shogunate. In 1867, the restoration of imperial rule brought about the birth of the new government, and in the following year, a war between the former shogunate troops and the new government forces began. This became known as the Boshin War. The new government forces were dominant, spreading north from Edo through the Tohoku region and on toward Hokkaido. On the other hand, the retreating former shogunate forces' final trump card was the Kaiyo Maru. Funded by the Tokugawa Shogunate and built in the Netherlands, the Kaiyo Maru was a state-of-the-art battleship designed to counteract foreign military power. To coincide with the building of the Kaiyo Maru, Takeaki Enomoto went to study in the Netherlands. However, by the time the ship was completed and had arrived in Japan, the country was already in upheaval at the end of the shogunate reign. Amid all this, Enomoto, who had become the vice admiral of the shogunate fleet, arrived in Hokkaido with a Kaiyo Maru and 7 other battleships, and the Battle of Hakodate began. In November 1868, the former shogunate forces, who occupied Hakodate's Goryokaku Fort and Matsumai Castle, attacked Esashi from the land with troops led by Toshizo Hichikata, and from the sea with the Kaiyo Maru, led by Takeaki Enomoto. Intimidating cannonballs were fired from the Kaiyo Maru, but the new government forces had already escaped, and the former shogunate forces were able to occupy Esashi without any resistance. However, that night, the Kaiyo Maru, which was anchored off the coast of Esashi, ran aground during a blizzard and sank several days later. It had been less than 2 years since the Kaiyo Maru had first arrived in Japan. The following folklore exists with regard to the sinking of the Kaiyo Maru. Takeaki Enomoto, who had staged the attack on Esashi, was resting in the Notoya guest house on the Notoya slope when the unexpected news of the Kaiyo Maru's sinking arrived. Enomoto and Toshizo Hichikata, who had only just arrived in Esashi, went to the sea to watch the sinking ship. Hichikata punched the trunk of a nearby fir tree with his fist several times, shedding tears of grief. In 1869, the former shogunate forces surrendered. The end of the Battle of Hakodate heralded the end of the Boshin War. In the grounds of the Hiyama Gokoku Shrine remain the graves of 92 soldiers of the new government forces who died in the Battle of Hakodate. In 1990, approximately 120 years after it sank, the Kaiyo Maru was fully restored based on the ship's blueprints, which remained in the Netherlands. Precious remains that were salvaged from the seabed are now displayed on the ship. Scenes of cannonballs being fired have also been reproduced, and visitors can experience the weight of the cannonballs as well as a hammock on the ship, which is now a fun place that can be enjoyed by all the family. The dreams of a new world envisaged by the people during the upheaval at the end of the shogunate reign remain here in Esashi.